In the land of Egypt, under the rule of a cruel Pharaoh, the Hebrew people were enslaved and oppressed. The Pharaoh, fearing their growing numbers, ordered that every Hebrew boy be thrown into the Nile River. Amidst this dread, a woman named Jocheb gave birth to a son. To save him, she placed the infant Moses in a basket and set it afloat on the Nile. The gentle current carried him to the Pharaoh's daughter, who, moved by compassion, rescued him and raised him as her own. Unaware of his true heritage, as Moses grew, he became increasingly aware of the suffering of his people. One day, witnessing an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, anger surged within him. In a moment of impulsive rage, he struck down the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand. Realizing his crime could not remain hidden, Moses fled to the land of Midian, where he found refuge and married Zipporah, the daughter of a priest. Years passed until one day, while tending to his father-in-law's sheep, Moses encountered a remarkable sight on Mount Sinai, a bush that burned but was not consumed. Approaching the bush he heard the voice of God calling his name. God revealed his plan to free the Israelites from their bondage in Egypt and instructed Moses to return to confront Pharaoh. Hesitant and fearful, Moses protested, questioning his ability to lead. Yet, God reassured him, promising that he would be with him. Empowered by this divine mission, Moses returned to Egypt, accompanied by his brother Aaron. The brothers stood before Pharaoh, demanding, "Let my people go." Pharaoh's heart was hardened and he refused, prompting a series of catastrophic plagues unleashed upon Egypt. The Nile turned to blood, swarms of frogs, gnats, and flies plagued the land. Livestock perished, and painful boils afflicted the Egyptians. Each time, Pharaoh relented only to harden his heart once again. After the devastating ninth plague of darkness, God warned Moses of the final plague, the death of the firstborn. He instructed the Israelites to mark their doorposts with the blood of a lamb, protecting them from this tragedy. That fateful night, as the wails of mourning echoed through Egypt, Pharaoh summoned Moses. Desperate to end the suffering, "Go, take your people and leave," he commanded, with their hearts filled with hope and urgency. The Hebrews gathered their belongings and fled Egypt, carrying unleavened bread that had not risen in their haste. As they crossed the desert, they felt the weight of freedom for the first time, but their liberation was short-lived. The Pharaoh, having changed his mind, pursued them with his chariots and soldiers, intent on recapturing his slaves.
Trapped between the Red Sea and the advancing army, despair threatened the Israelites. But God spoke to Moses, instructing him to raise his staff over the sea. As Moses obeyed, a miraculous wind parted the waters, creating a dry path for the people to cross. The Israelites walked through the towering walls of water, their hearts racing with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Once they reached the other side, God commanded Moses to stretch out his hand again. As he did, the waters returned, engulfing Pharaoh's army and sealing the fate of their oppressors. The Hebrews, now free, turned to witness the miraculous escape, realizing they had been delivered from slavery. With jubilant hearts, they began their journey into the wilderness, led by God's presence in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Their path was uncertain and trials awaited them, but they marched forward, united in faith and hope, yearning for the promised land that lay ahead.